All right, so on 1.5, we're just going to look at ways that we can model or just write expressions or equations and how we can deal with the concept of accuracy. So Keegan has a monthly expense, monthly income, and a projected monthly payment. I'm sure this is for a mortgage. And then he's got two different banks, the National Road Bank and the New Savings Bank. And each one of those have a set of requirements that they use to make a decision on who gets a loan and who doesn't. So this one's asking us to see if Keegan qualifies for a home loan at the National Road Bank. So we have to look right here that the National Road Bank uses a debt to income ratio. So we need a ratio, is just a fraction. So I'm going to draw a fraction bar. Okay, there's my fraction bar. And it says debt to income. So that means debt is going to go on top. His total debt is going to go on top. And his income is going to go on bottom. Okay, so that's how you determined what we're going to write, just based on how it reads, debt to income. So his it says here that his monthly, what do we have? We have expenses, we have monthly income. Okay, so we know that that number goes on bottom. And so we're going to put 2465. That's how much he makes a month. And each month he has this 975 dollars worth of monthly expenses. So that's what we consider debt. That's money that goes out. He has to pay that out. Income is coming in. Expenses are going out. And now I'm going to simply divide that on my calculator. And so when I divide that on my calculator, I get 975 divided by 2465. That gives me a decimal of 0.3955. And there's definitely more decimals, but the next one is 375, and then of course it does keep going. I chose to round it off right here because the 3 was a number that let me keep this 5 the same. So, and that would give me, if I needed to write that as a percentage, I would get, a couple of decimal places after. But they just use 2 decimal places, 36. So since they use 36, 2 decimal places, I'm going to round to 2 decimal places right here. And that rounds to 0.40. The rule is 2 decimal places. So I'm going to underline the second decimal place. I'm going to look next door. And if it's 5 or higher, I'm going to let this soar. That means I'm going to add 1 more to it. So add 1 to the 9, you get a 0, and carry the 1 over there, so it changes to 40. And now they want us to compare. It says must be a ratio at 0.36 or less. His is 0.4. Is 0.4 0.36 or less? No, he does not qualify. Determine whether he qualifies for the other bank. And the other bank uses a mortgage to income ratio. Okay, so we have a ratio, and his mortgage payment and income goes on bottom. And it says that it must be 0.28 or less. So it must be less than, it can be 0.28. has to be 0.28 or less than. And this one right here, his debt to income ratio had to be less, the same thing. Had to be less than or equal to 0.36. Okay, and his came out to be 40.40. 40 is not less than 0.36. Okay, so his mortgage to income, his proposed mortgage is $684. And compare that to his income, $2,465. And we need to see if that is less than or equal to 0.28. So I'm going to type this on the calculator. 684 divided by 2465, and that comes out to be, I need 2 decimal places. That comes out to be, I'm running out of room, so I'm going to do 0.277, which rounds to be 0.28, and it says it can be less than or equal to 0.28. So 0.28 is equal to 0.28. So does he qualify? We'll say yes, he does qualify. Okay, compare the results of the two metrics. A metric is just a measurement, a number, something that we use to measure. And here we're using this ratio to measure if he qualifies or not. How could Keegan adjust her finances? Sorry, I've been referring to it as him. Keegan adjust her finances so that she qualifies for both loans. So they want to know, how can we make this one smaller? We can make this one smaller by making the numerator, reducing her debt. She needs to reduce her debt. The number on top is smaller, then the value of the fraction gets smaller. If the bottom stays the same. She either needs to reduce her debt or she needs to increase her income. Reduce her debt or increase income. Either one of those will work. This one says the dimensions of the rug are given in inches and centimeters. Which unit of measurement is more accurate? Centimeters is more accurate because it's smaller. The smaller unit of measurement is always more accurate because it's smaller. A centimeter is smaller than an inch. So the smaller unit of measurement is always more accurate. Camille wants to divide 23 6 ways. Her calculator shows this. Where should she round? She should round after the number starts repeating. So she should round right there at 3.83. If you round at the 8, you're going to miss the fact that that 3 is repeating. So 2 pieces of pizza among 6 people. This is the decimal. Where should she round? Well, I wouldn't round that. I would change that to a fraction is what I would do. But we're going to round, since that decimal is right there, it doesn't matter where we round. Follow the rules for rounding. Or if they don't give you any rules, then you can round to what's appropriate. Like if it's money, you always want to round to 2 decimal places. If it's a percentage, you probably want to keep at least 2 decimal places. But since this one is just a repeating value after that first digit and they're all the same, rounding to that first digit is appropriate. For this one, when they give you different values, and by different values, I mean values rounded at different places. This one's rounded to 1 decimal place, this one 2 decimal places, this one 2 decimal places. The least number of decimal places is the most accurate you're ever going to be. So if you have find the one that has the least number of decimal places, and that's all you need to worry about rounding to over here. Because this one is not accurate to 2 decimal places, so it doesn't matter that these are, because this one isn't. So this one's not going to be accurate beyond 1 decimal place. So we would round this one to 406.7. Sam's table is missing a leg. He wants to cut a piece of wood to replace the leg. How accurate do his measurements need to be? Well, if he wants a stable table, it needs to be very accurate. Otherwise, what's going to happen to his table? It's going to lean or it's going to rock. Y'all have been on those tables that, that shake, and that's very aggravating. Very. It needs to be precise. Very precise, or the table will wobble. You were estimating the height of the small child. Which unit of measurement would you use? 1 foot, 1 inch, or 1/16 of an inch? 1/16 of an inch is really, really, really small. So although like a measuring tape might have it, most kids are just going to be measured with an inch. You're not going to say my kid is 36 and 1/16 of an inch. You would just say my kid's 36 inches tall, and that's the way most of us, even us, do if we're using standard unit of measurement. We round to the nearest inch. My driver's license says I'm 5'2", but I am not 5'2". I'm 5'1 3/4", but nobody puts the 3/4. Mrs. Johns is measuring the driving distance from one city to another. How accurate do you think she needs to be with her measurements? I would say by the mile. It's 5 miles, it's 3 miles, it's 2 miles to the nearest mile. I know that if I look up how far my house is from the school, it'll tell me 3.2 miles. So somewhere a distance that's close, something that's not very far, they might want to do tenths of a mile. But if it's a big distance, like signs on the side of the road, they're going to tell you that Dallas is 45 miles. They're not going to say 45 and a half or so forth like that. So I'm pretty sure that miles will be good enough.